Well, not anymore. There was a time, of course, that I did. I think after the second or third year, I started finally to divorce myself from him. But on May 13th, 1972, Dan Blocker passed away at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. At first, his death was confirmed to be caused by a complication following gallbladder removal surgery. However, when the forensic doctors conducted the examination, they discovered strange signs they had never encountered in their entire careers. A series of abnormal biological reactions, unlike any previous clinical case, made the doctors record puzzling traces inside Blocker's body. But these notes, only a few hours after they were completed, were removed from the medical file. This alteration turned Blocker's death into a mystery that science still cannot explain today. What then actually happened in the final hours of Dan Blocker's life? Why were important details erased from his medical records? Before we begin the journey of decoding the final secret of Dan Blocker, prepare yourself. What is about to be revealed may make you shiver and completely change the way you look at the passing of this beloved star. In the investigation into Dan Blocker's death, forensic doctors discovered several unusual signs in his lung tissue, details that were never officially reported in the death certificate. Blocker's death, explained as a pulmonary embolism following gallbladder surgery, appeared to contain elements that could not be explained by standard medical models. When examining the lung tissue, the doctor did not find the typical indicators of a pulmonary embolism, such as large blood clots, necrotic tissue, or blockages in the pulmonary artery, all of which are necessary to confirm that diagnosis. Instead, Blocker's lung tissue showed only mild uniform swelling, with no trace of a saddle embolus, the classic hallmark of a severe pulmonary embolism. This led the forensic doctor to note in the examination log, "Does not match textbook embolism, suggest underlying tissue reaction." This line was removed from the official file, raising doubts about the accuracy of the conclusion and creating questions about whether someone might have intentionally tried to conceal the truth. In addition, another notable discovery was the appearance of a fibrous band beneath Blocker's left rib. Although he had just undergone gallbladder surgery, this fibrous band was unrelated to the surgical area and appeared elsewhere. The fibrous tissue was light gray, unlike the post-operative bruising typically seen after surgery, and notably, it showed signs of chronic inflammation, a condition that may have existed before the operation. This raised the question of whether Blocker had been dealing with a long-term health problem that he never disclosed to the public or even to his medical team. This chronic inflammation not only sparked doubts about Blocker's health before his passing, but could also have been a sign of an underlying condition that went undetected. During the autopsy, a sample of fat tissue was collected from Blocker's body, and this further highlighted the abnormalities in the medical report. This fat sample contained a cluster of unusual cells, completely different from normal fat cells. These cells were not inflammatory tissue, nor did they match the post-operative reactions Blocker should have had. In the preliminary forensic report, the doctor wrote, "Foreign-like cluster, needs second review." However, surprisingly, this second review never took place. After 72 hours, the sample disappeared from the file with no explanation. This led many to believe that someone had intentionally removed the sample from the investigation, preventing vital information from surfacing. This detail was extremely suspicious and only deepened the doubts surrounding Blocker's death. Finally, Blocker's lung tissue also showed a clear sign of chronic respiratory distress, commonly found in people with severe sleep-related breathing disorders. His lung tissue displayed mild swelling and retained fluid, similar to the lungs of patients who have accumulated CO2 in their bodies for an extended period. However, what is remarkable is that none of these signs appeared in the official death certificate. Such an obvious condition being omitted made the official conclusions about Blocker's death even more unclear and confusing. This was not just an oversight. It may have pointed to a serious health issue that Blocker had endured quietly for a long time without being detected. Right before entering the operating room, a nurse recalled a detail that made everyone stop and think. Dan Blocker had quietly mentioned that his chest felt as if it were being pressed inward, a sensation few could imagine without experiencing it themselves. However, everyone around him at the time assumed it was simply a sign of pre-surgery anxiety. Blocker, known for his strong and steady personality, showed no fear or panic. He merely mentioned the discomfort in his chest. Yet, this may have been a sign of a far more serious cardiac issue than anyone realized. Ignoring these symptoms, even if they seemed like ordinary preoperative nerves, was a serious mistake in assessing and addressing his health condition. These signs, although small, were extremely important, yet they were overlooked amid the hectic and demanding Hollywood environment. These factors gradually accumulated within Blocker's body, creating a state of exhaustion that no one truly noticed until it was too late. However, Blocker's health was influenced not only by physical factors, but also by the immense pressures of his career and personal life. From the demanding expectations of the Bonanza production team to financial responsibilities and outside business management, everything pushed Blocker into a corner, weakening both his physical and mental resilience. These challenges did not just affect his physical health. They also weighed heavily on his state of mind during his final months. Were these pressures the very force that prevented Blocker from overcoming the challenges in his life and his deteriorating health? Could behind-the-scenes tensions and the unforgiving demands of Bonanza have created an environment he could not escape, robbing him of peace in his final days? One of the biggest factors contributing to Blocker's declining health was the pressure to maintain the image of Hoss Cartwright. Since Bonanza first aired in 1959, Blocker's identity had become inseparable from the character of Hoss, a large, powerful man. However, to fit the character's image, Blocker had to maintain a high body weight, which had serious consequences for his health. Carrying such weight not only led to high blood pressure but also caused severe sleep-related breathing issues, a condition particularly dangerous for heart health. The autopsy after his death revealed lung tissue with signs of swelling, a typical indicator found in patients with long-term sleep-related breathing disorders. This strengthened the connection between Blocker's health problems and the demands placed on him throughout his career. Even so, by 1971 to 1972, when his health noticeably deteriorated, Blocker requested to reduce the number of episodes he appeared in on Bonanza due to his poor health. However, this request was met with strong resistance from the production team, who did not want to lose one of the show's central stars. Blocker was forced to continue working through an intensive filming schedule, further exhausting his body. Forensic doctors later noted that the long-term CO2 buildup recorded in his lungs could not be separated from these overwhelming factors. The long shooting days, constant performance demands, and pressure to always be camera-ready added even more strain to a man whose health was already in jeopardy. Another factor worsening Blocker's health was the frequent script changes in Bonanza, which created major mental strain. The show's producers, especially during its later years, often altered pacing and storyline structure without warning. This instability created challenges for Blocker, who had to maintain the image of Hoss Cartwright amid a shifting creative environment. Although Blocker always demonstrated professionalism and commitment, the constant script changes subjected him to prolonged mental stress. This affected not only his emotional well-being, but also his physical health. Medical tests at the time revealed fluctuations in Blocker's liver enzymes, a common sign in individuals experiencing extreme psychological pressure. This made it increasingly clear that Blocker's decline was not merely physical, it was the result